Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about issue number 3 of Black Panther the Blood Hunt, written by Cheryl Eaton and art by Farid Karami. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. The issue opens in the depths of the Indian Ocean, at the ruins of an ancient Atlantean temple. And when we get there, we see the Black Panther surrounded by a group of fierce Atlanteans. So with this new turn of events, the lead Atlantean lets out a growl as he tells the Black Panther he should not have come into the Atlantean's water. Now, despite the heightened tension, the Black Panther remained calm and replied with, "I am not here as an act of aggression." But see, according to the Atlanteans, his very presence in their waters is considered an insult. So in an attempt to de-escalate the situation, the Black Panther went on to explain his mission by saying he had come to reclaim something that once sat on Wakanda's soil, referring to a temple that is of no use to them. Now this didn't really matter to the Atlanteans because the commander was unwilling to relinquish their claim because according to him, they were now at an impasse because whatever the gods have returned to the waters will never be relinquished. So with diplomacy falling apart, the Black Panther turned his back on the commander and started to make his way to the temple anyway and informed the commander that this was a discussion best had with their king. Now this pissed off the commander because he snapped back with, "I do not need to seek Namor's counsel because the Black Panther holds no power under the waves." So from his perspective, they are speaking as equals. So with that statement, T'Challa responds to that by saying, "Believing me your equal was your first mistake." And in a blink of an eye, a battle breaks out, and the Black Panther moves on pure instinct and counters the Atlanteans' attacks with a powerful electric pulse that was able to incapacitate his opponents. Now this electrical pulse that surged within him was a lingering fragment of the power gifted to him by the river goddess Anukit. Now T'Challa explains that following his conjuring of the elemental attack, to his surprise, it triggered a brief remembrance of the taste of Anukit's blood. But see, his surprises didn't stop there, because he found himself longing for more of it, and perhaps more of Anukit as well. But as long as he remains a scion of blades, his will is not completely his own. And the mission remains paramount because the temple calls to him. Now with his enemies momentarily subdued, T'Challa moves with purpose and makes his way deeper under the waves. Meanwhile, while that was going on, we jump back to Wakanda's nature preserve, with Anukit returning back to Bast's side. And the first thing Bast asks her sister is if the deed is done and if Varney's temple was destroyed. To which Anukit replied by saying she does not know if the Black Panther was successful or not. Now this pissed Bast off, because, despite the Black Panther current condition, she still sees all the people of Wakanda as her kids. So once more the question was asked about his whereabouts, to which Anukit replied by saying he is where I agreed to take him, the temple. And Anukit also went on to say, she gave him some of her blood as well. And on a side note, during this interaction, we see that similar to T'Challa, Anukit is open to having him serve as her champion in the potential future. But anyway, with that foreshadowing out there and Anukit returning under the waves, we then flash back to the distant past, where the fiery demon Varney battles against the powerful god Koko. Now Varney is furious that his gateway has been destroyed and his chances at godhood squished. Now this was something Koko found funny, because he went on to ask if Varney really believed he could obtain godhood. So with anger in his heart, Koko went on to call Varney a stupid and arrogant little demon. So as Varney lay hurt on the ground, Koko went on to continue to ask if he wished to see the might of a true god. And with that statement, he unleashed his devastating power and consumed everything in flames. Because according to Koko, his power is everlasting. Now one thing about Koko is that he is extremely arrogant as well, because on the next page, we see how his display of power was not only affecting Vari, but it was also affecting the rest of his fellow gods. So as they called for him to stop, Koko kept upping his display to the point where Khonshu and the others contemplated on taking him down as well. So with that option on the table, Eshu mustered its power and stood before Koko, because unlike Khonshu and some of the other gods out there, Eshu had the ability to put an end to this display. So with Eshu's mind made up, he quickly intervenes in the battle and brought it to a halt. So with everyone frozen in their tracks, Eshu went on to say with unquestionable authority that he had seen enough. And he has borne witness to uniting and to their failures, and because of that their judgment is at hand. Now his words carry the weight of divine authority, and the other gods can do little but accept his decree. So as Eshu towered over the fallen, his power was undeniable and unyielding. So with that said, Eshu states that he has found them all lacking. Now following Eshu's judgment, all the gods stood before his might as we jump back to the current day. And when we get there, we see T'Challa venturing deeper into the ruins of the Atlantean temple, so as he moves with a purpose deeper within the temple, he is seized by a horror that he cannot explain. He feels a deep sense of anxiety and primordial fear. But the Black Panther is not held captive by such things, for he knows that fear is often the key to one's liberation. So he must wear this terror as an armor. And by doing so, he is able to give it usefulness and prepare himself for whatever dangers lie in wait along his path. Suddenly, within the temple, T'Challa encounters a group of grotesque creatures that was chained and bound. Now one of these creatures referred to him as their brother and asked if he was there to free them. And another one lunged right for the Black Panther once he got too close and asked if he had come to serve as our sacrifice. So with cat-like reflexes, the Black Panther maneuvered himself around and went on the attack. Now his movements were fluid and precise. And the creatures stood no chance against him. Now T'Challa wasn't sure where his newfound strength came from. He wasn't sure if it was a part of the gift from Anuket's blood, or if it came from Blade's vampiric curse. But whatever it was, it gave him an edge over his opponents. Because now when the Black Panther fought, he fought with a ferocity that surprised even himself, but regardless of his victory, the brutality of his enemies weighs heavily on him. So as he dispatches the last of the chained creatures, the story jumps back to the distant past. And when we get there, we see Bast shouting at Koku for what he has done, because according to Bast, Koku has burned the land and made it unusable for the people of Wakanda once they returned. Because if you remember the last issue, Bast told them to return after a certain amount of time. But see, Koku in his arrogance just responded by saying the burned earth could serve as a warning. Now this was the wrong thing to say, because Eshu states that Koku would also serve as a warning, because he is planning on bounding him to the very same land that he burned. So with that punishment cast, Bast saw this as a fitting punishment, but she couldn't help but to ask, under whom authority is he able to cast punishment? To which Gaki warned her to stay quiet. But despite her question, Eshu just ignored her and went on to tell Khonshu he was free to go, for he had shown a willingness to act in service of mankind. And as for Ta, he chose to stay and command the ore that Varney had stolen. And finally, Eshu decided to leave the destiny of this land to Orisha and Ennead. So with everyone's verdict rendered, Eshu left and Bast was pissed off. So much so, that she pushed and cursed Koku for his action. To which Ta suggested that they enlist Anuket's help in fixing the burned land. So with that said, we jump back to the current day with the Black Panther still swimming within Varney's temple. And when we see him, he states that he knows many languages from on and off of Earth, and yet he doesn't know these markings. For these markings are so ancient that these symbols cannot be deciphered. But judging by their location, he could at least be positive that these symbols were not made by men or for them. So with that conclusion, a bit of blood exited his fingertip and caused the writing to glow blue. And before the Black Panther knew it, the temple started to speak to him and as if he would like to come to the other side. To which T'Challa answered by saying no, but apparently the temple had its own will, because it stated that perhaps he would feel differently once he was there. And just like that, a black liquid flowed in his direction. So with all his might, the Black Panther took off, and in a desperate act, T'Challa initiated a teleportation sequence, aiming to transport the temple's contents to Central Park. As the structure begins to disintegrate, T'Challa realizes the magnitude of his actions, for he has fulfilled Blade's wish. The temple is within his grasp, he thinks, hoping that his actions will destroy Blade. So with that said, the temple appeared in the sky above the city just like we seen in the Blood Hunt comic. So as the temple fell from the sky, T'Challa was trapped in a whirlpool of water, which led to him blacking out. So with that said, the scene shifts, and T'Challa finds himself in a forest, surrounded by familiar faces. Anuket and Bast welcome him back by saying, "You are here in the land where you belong." So as the Black Panther sat up, he immediately asked if he was dead, to which Bast informed him that he is alive and well, but there is still work that needed to be done both here and afar. So with that said, Bast welcomed him home with a heart-shaped herb in hand. So with that said, this issue came to an end. Now with that out there, if you want to stay in the loop about any individual storyline, then how about you hop over to the playlist section down below or in the link cards above to get all caught up on everything on my channel. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.